Hello, it's me. I'm back again to talk about a more serious topic this time. This is about being black in the workplace. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my experiences and what I've dealt with being black in the workplace. Now, I chose to do this video because I was talking with one of my friends yesterday and she's having a hard time at work currently. So I thought, you know what, let me do this video so that I can send some love and light to her because, black women, black men, we all need to stick together because this is hard, especially living in these white dominated countries. I'm not saying all white people are racist. I will never open my mouth to say that. However, we do live in white patriarchal societies, which is dominated by white men, and we do live in societies that are designed to oppress people, whether that be women or black women, black men, any ethnic minority, any person deemed as lesser, we do get oppressed. So I know you've read I've read and heard loads of stories about black people being treated poorly in the workplace. It's like even when we escalate higher, we still seem to be struggling. Even people who are earning say 40 grand a year, in their workplace, they're still having to deal with micro and macroaggressions. So I always say to people, it don't matter whether you're wearing a suit or wearing a uniform. If your company is going to oppress you, they're going to oppress you. That's as simple as it. And it's funny because you see all these race relations acts and anti-discrimination laws, and yet it's funny how some companies completely flout them. They don't care. They have them. They don't care. So it's actually highly amusing to see how they operate. So I know you see stories about black women who choose to wear their hair in box braids to work. I remember reading a story a couple of years ago about this woman. She got hired for a job, but she had her hair in box braids, and they said they said to her, if you don't take your box braids out, we are not going to hire you. And it's like she went for the job interview, all of this stuff, got the job, and they said unless she takes the box braids out, that's it, it's done for. And it's something so silly because if you think about it, black women have been wearing their hair in various different styles for years. Box braids, weaves, cornrows, plaits, chiny bumps, or bantu knots as we call them now. But chiny bumps because I gotta big up the Jamaican and Bajan side. But various hairstyles, and it's just like we get told that they're not right, that they're out, that they're too out there. You mean too black, right? Is that what you mean, too black? So I remember when I was working full-time as a healthcare assistant a few years back, and I do remember, having to deal with a load of nonsense because of how I choose to wear my hair. And it's funny because it wasn't just from the white members of staff, it was from the black members of staff as well. They were trying to tell me how I should be wearing my hair. And I'm like, my hair is my hair. It's not nothing to do with you. Sometimes I'd wear my hair in an afro. Sometimes I'd wear it in 2-strand twists, flat twists. I even went to work once with bantu knots. I just did not care. And I always thought it if my employer didn't have a problem with my hair, then obviously there's nothing wrong with how I wear my hair. But yet they were always complaining, saying to me about, why you don't just wear your hair like this? Why you don't just plait it up? And I'm like, if I don't want to plait it up, I do not have to plait my hair up. And for the white members of staff, I remember one white lady, she put her hands in my hair and she says, it looks really wild and it feels greasy. And I'm like, well, who told you to put, I'm thinking to myself, who told you to put your hands in my hair in the first place. I never actually said that because I was still a new member of staff, and I felt that I couldn't voice my disapproval of what they were doing. It was effectively bullying. And sometimes you can't tell people that. Sometimes you feel like because you're a new member of staff and because you're black, you feel like you can't, because you'll probably have the black members of staff who will jump all over you saying about no, that's not what happened, because they've been there much longer, and they're all in this clique mentality. And that's one thing I can't stand when you're a new member of staff and you go to work somewhere, is people go out their way to make you feel so uncomfortable because they've been working there longer. And it was just getting like, was really getting to me, like months and months of this bullshit. And I had one supervisor who I really did not like because she always made me feel like I was beneath her, and I don't know whether it's because I was black or whatever, but she made me really feel small and belittled, sorry. And it was just a really difficult time for me. I remember one time at work I actually burst into tears because I was just so sad. I wouldn't really say I was depressed, but was really down at that time. At that time in my life, I was just very, very sad. So to have them all ganging up on me was just like, you can't even, it's like, see, the thing is, you can't even speak to your other black members of staff about it. Is because they're not necessarily going to be on your side. And this is one thing I have observed working in the UK. Black people won't necessarily be on your side, even at work. They tend to go for themselves, and that's it. You are not relevant to them. So yeah, so like I said, I had the supervisor and she was always picking on me, bullying me, making me feel belittled. And, you know, like the other members of staff were picking up on it, and they were saying to me, well, the only reason she's acting nice now is because you could easily just run down to the manager and voice your disapproval of what she was doing. And it's like, I could have gone to the manager, but it was just like, when would I find the time? The majority of shifts I had were long days, so I'm talking like 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 at night, but you had to get to work before 8 o'clock so you could have handover. And so the manager wouldn't come into 9 o'clock. She was there from 9 to 5. So it's just like, if you do like the morning part of your shift, you basically be run off your feet, and you would only have like a 15-minute break, and then it's lunchtime. And then you have your full 45-minute break. So you get like an hour, but it's spread. And then you get a little bit in the evening. You get a little bit of a break in the evening as well. But the manager, like I said, was only there from 9 to 5. So unless you managed to find time within that 12-hour shift, you was not going to see her. And that's just the gist of it. You were not going to see her. So it was just like, I couldn't even find the time to go to speak to her about what was going on. But I did eventually get another supervisor. And she was much better. However, I was still dealing with the nonsense with some of the black members of staff. And you just feel alone because you barely know any of them. You don't really have a voice, because they would just be like, well, I've been here longer than you anyway. So that kind of mentality. And it was just like, you as a black person dealing with oppression, discrimination, racism at work, and then you have to deal with your own fellow black people not wanting to acknowledge you, basically. And if they do acknowledge you, they're just saying like disparaging things. And you know what? I was actually glad when I left. I was like, fine and fucking leave. I was glad when I left. Sorry for swearing. I'm trying my hardest not to swear. But I was so glad when I left. And then after a good while, once I got my confidence back up, I went back to my agency. Now this agency, they send you to different nursing homes and care homes. And a few of the care homes I went to was fine, dandy, nothing happened. You get there for your early shift, and then that's it, or your afternoon or your late shift, and that's it. But some of the nursing homes I went to, they again had a clique mentality. I remember I went on shift to this one nursing home, and I got on shift to my early shift. Nobody was showing me. Nobody was showing me where to go to get this stuff to wash the service users. Nobody was showing me none of this stuff. And then I heard them whispering, saying about, oh, how I'm not doing my job. And I'm like, you didn't show me things. You didn't show me things where I'm supposed to go. You're not showing me things where I'm supposed to go. You're not even acknowledging my presence there, but you're whispering about me to other people. It doesn't even make any sense. It's your fault if you just opened your mouth and say, hey, look, here's the washcloths, here's the towels, here's the aprons, then you wouldn't have had a problem. But it's your fault. You want to be in this click mentality, and you basically saying, well, I'm going to look down at her because she's an agency member of staff anyway. Just because you work there full time don't make you better than anybody. And I was only getting paid slightly more than them anyway, so I don't understand this whole attitude where people who work full time look down at agency members of staff. It's not our fault. We just came to help you because you not have enough members of staff. That's all we are there. We are there to supplement you when you need us, and that's it. That's the requirement. So this whole clique mentality, making people feel small for over nonsense, talking about how they're not doing their job properly in a way. This is typical of agency staff members. No, the hell, that's not true. But you can't tell some people anything. And that's another incidence of how I sometimes don't open my mouth and say, you know what, look, I've just come here to work. That's it. I don't want to be friends with you. I don't want to be nothing. I just come here to work, plain and simple. So you're not going to be telling me anything. But like I said, being black in a workplace is very difficult. Very, very difficult. Sometimes it's a case of you having to either speak out about what's going on, keeping quiet. And those are the only two options you have: keep quiet or speak out. And sometimes if you speak out, it's not always in your favor, because sometimes it will be the white person who speaks out first, and they're the ones who get believed. But because you're black, they don't want to believe you. They don't want to believe you because you're not seen as trustworthy, or that your opinion matters. So it's kind of like, it's very difficult. Now, as I was saying about my friend who's having trouble at work, some people throwing her underneath the bus. And this is what I'm saying, like, about people will report you, and then you don't really have, unless people know the truth of the situation, you don't really have a leg to stand on. And it's like you left in a very difficult situation, because it is enough, like being black, not having someone, on your side to actually stick up for you and say, you know what, this is what happened. And this is what I'm saying to white people: if you claim to not be racist and you're at work, you see your black member of staff being targeted, and you don't do anything, to help say, like, you know what, oh, actually, wait a minute, that's not what happened, because you can use your privilege to help black people in the workplace who are, like I said, being targeted, being harassed, whatever. When especially when you know that someone is lying on them. And if you just sit there in silence and don't say anything because you feel like your job will be on the line, then I'm sorry, you may not be racist, but you are complicit in racism happening. And you cannot just sit there and say, well, as long as it doesn't hit my doorstep, it doesn't matter. No, it's affecting other people. People cannot function properly at work if racism and oppression is going on. And some of you act like you're above it all. You don't even realise the privilege you have. We don't have that privilege, unfortunately. Sometimes we're just lucky to be able to go to university, to be able to get a job. And when we do, and things happen, and it's not our fault, but because it's not our fault, but because other people have spoken out against us, it's making us look like the bad ones. And no, that's not true at all. So, if you have a mouth, please use it. And if you don't want to use it, stay quiet, because you're not going to help anyway. So what's the point of you? Like, seriously, what is the point of you? Nothing not good with you. Well, I've heard so many incidents of black people being targeted at work, and they make it evident that they don't want us there. But one thing I have learnt: if your workplace has a human resources, if you want, go over the head of your manager and go straight to human resources and say, look, this person is such and such, because sometimes it's your manager the one who's suppressing them, so you have to go over the head of your own manager. So like, go to human resources will get them together like you would not believe. Trust me. If you're dealing with racism, oppression, sexual harassment as a black person at work, go to human resources. It's not easy to admit something is going on. It's not easy at all. However, once you reflect upon it and you actually look and you see, hey, look, something actually is going on here and it's not good, then that is when you need to say, you know what, I'm going to make a stand here and I'm going to speak out against it. Even if it means, I know it sounds bad, but even if it means you losing your job. I would never want anyone to be unemployed. However, I'm just saying, like, even if it means you losing your job, sometimes you have to speak out against what is going on because it's the right thing to do. And I don't think a lot of people actually want to admit that sometimes you have to do things that are left field, that what a lot of people will say you shouldn't be doing. Sometimes you need to do something that makes you feel uncomfortable, makes you feel like it just puts a little bit of a jiggle in your spirit, And that's what I'm talking about now. Like, about my experiences of being black in the workplace, because I've dealt with a lot of shit. I've dealt with some racism from the service users, calling me coloured, calling me a black devil, all this kind of stuff. And I was just, you speak to the members of staff and I was just like, oh, they don't know what they're saying. Oh, they do know what they're saying. It's you. You're the one who's downplaying. You're the one who's downplaying it. You'd think that they don't have their faculties. Trust me, they do. Not all of them suffer from dementia. Some of them know exactly what the hell they're saying. They mean every single racist word what they're saying. So don't sit there and say, oh, they don't know what they're saying. Of course they know what they're saying. Dementia affects your memory. However, their long-term memory is set in stone. Trust me, they know what a coloured girl is. They know what a coloured boy is. Trust me. Don't sit there and dismiss the racism by saying about, oh, they don't know what they're saying. They know what the hell they're saying. Trust me, they've lived for a very long time. They know what black people are. They know they don't like them. So don't even bother coming to me saying about, just let it go. It doesn't mean anything. It does to me. Because it is racism at the end of the day. I don't care if they're old. I don't give a shit if they're old. Like, you say racism to me. Boy, don't do it. Don't do it. So yeah, that is the end of the video. Let me know down below in the comments if you've ever had negative experiences being black at work, because this is a discussion that actually needed to happen. This is something like I've spoken about briefly before on this channel, but not in depth like this. So I just had to do a full blown video because it gets you down a little bit. So there you go. I shall see you in 2 more YouTube videos tomorrow. So bye.